On July 9th, the PMP exam changes for good. One part of the test just tripled in size, there are brand new question types you've never seen before, and if you're studying right now, some of your material is already out of date. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through exactly what's changing and what you should do about it this week. If you're planning to sit for the PMP this year, these are the single most impactful details to your success, so you do not want to miss this. I teach project management and PMP readiness at the graduate level to over 600 students a year. On this channel, I'll keep the information delivery clear, and I'll tell you what actually matters in short, targeted videos instead of everything all at once. Let's get into it. Here's the simple version. Every few years, the Project Management Institute, or PMI, updates the PMP exam so that it reflects how people really run projects today. The last big shift was years ago. This exam update hits on July 9th, 2026, and it's a large one because it lines up with the new PMBOK guide edition that rolled out in late 2025 and early 2026. The PMP exam is actually based on PMI's Examination Content Outline, or ECO, not the PMBOK guide directly, but a new edition of the guide signals a major refresh of PMI's guidance, so exam updates naturally tend to arrive on the same wave. Now, why should you care about a date? Because it splits candidates into two groups. If you test on July 8th or earlier, you sit for the current exam, the one most study material was built for. If you test on July 9th or later, you sit for the new one. Same certification at the end, different test on the way there. So the first thing you need to know isn't a study tip. It's which exam you're actually taking, because that decides which material you should trust. And that matters more than usual right now because a lot of the courses and practice questions floating around were written for the older exam. If you grabbed a study bundle a year ago, part of it is quietly aiming at a target that's about to move. But here's where most people get the new exam wrong. They think it's just a fresh coat of paint. It isn't. And one change in particular is going to surprise people. That's the what and why. Now let's get into what you actually need for the exam. The PMP exam is organized into three big buckets called domains: people, process, and business environment. On the old exam, those buckets were weighted 42%, 50%, and 8%. On the new exam, they become 33, 41, and 26. Look at that last number. Business environment jumps from 8% all the way to 26. It roughly tripled. On a test with 180 questions, that's the difference between a handful of questions and something closer to 45 of them. So the part of the exam most people used to skim is now one of the biggest things on it. So, what lives in business environment? Think of it as the strategy layer. How a project connects to the goals of the organization, how you deliver actual value, and not just finish tasks, compliance, and the outside forces that shape the work. This is also where the newest topics show up, and that leads straight into the next change. The new exam officially brings in topics the old one barely touched: artificial intelligence in project work, sustainability, and a stronger focus on outcomes and value rather than just following a process. You don't need to become a data scientist for the AI questions. What they're testing is judgment. Where does it make sense to use these tools? Where does a human stay in charge? And how does any of this help the project deliver something worth delivering? If you can talk about value and good judgment, you're most of the way there. Here's the part that will trip some people up on exam day. The old exam was almost all standard multiple choice. Pick A, B, C, or D. The new one adds more interactive, scenario-based questions. Widely reported formats include dragging items into the right order, matching things across two columns, clicking the right spot on an image, and reading information off a chart or a diagram to answer. There are also longer case sets, where you read one detailed scenario and then answer several questions from it. The trap isn't that these are harder, it's that they eat time and they punish skimming. A case set forces you to actually read, and a drag and drop has no lucky guess. So the mistake is practicing only classic multiple choice and then meeting these cold. Don't let exam day be the first time you see one. So what do you do with all this? 3 moves. First, lock in your date because it decides your material. If you want the current exam, you have to test by July 8th. And since that's just a few days away, if you don't already have it scheduled, well, you will be taking the new exam. Second, assuming you are taking the new exam, give business environment real study time instead of treating it as an afterthought, and get comfortable talking about value, strategy, and where AI fits. Third, practice the new question formats specifically, not just multiple choice, so nothing on the screen is a surprise. Do those 3 things and you're studying for the exam you're actually going to take. And if you're feeling behind because your old material is out of date, don't worry. That's exactly what the rest of this channel is built to fix. We'll be releasing new videos on a regular cadence to bring you up to date and get you ready. Like and subscribe to the channel to get those drops. And you can also visit our website, pmplaunchpad.com, for even more material, and sign up for our newsletter to get updates and articles delivered right to your inbox. Quick recap. The exam changes on July 9th, and your test date decides which version you get. Business environment tripled from 8% to 26%, so strategy and value are now front and center. And there are new interactive question types, so practice those on purpose instead of hoping for the best. If this helped, subscribe, because I'm breaking down the entire new exam, one video at a time, in plain English. Next up, I'm building an actual study plan for the 2026 exam, weighted to these new numbers, so you know exactly where to spend your time. That's the video to watch right after this one. I'll see you there.